In the United States, Chicago is at the center of Donald Trump's crackdown on immigration. Enforcement raids have angered local leaders, and activists are now patrolling their own streets to confront federal agents and warn their likely targets.
A common sight in the U.S. ICE agents in plain clothes without any identification and in unmarked cars, arresting people on the streets they suspect are undocumented. These videos show recent arrests in and around Chicago. They have one thing in common: bystanders filming the arrests and facing off with the agents. Many people hear about ICE operations in real time thanks to activists. They call themselves the People's Patrol, a 200-member-strong rapid response network countering the Trump deportation blitz in the Chicago area. Cristóbal Cavazos leads those efforts.
Every day people patrol at least a half hour a day. People are connected, typically on Signal or some other site. They connect, this is what I saw, this is what I didn't see.
Once they see ICE agents, they confront them, hoping to get them to leave the area.
ICE has said, and this has been found in court, they can profile you based on the color of your skin. So we're seeing people in Chicago being taken with or without documents, just based on the, a few years ago, this would have been a hate crime.
Chicago, a Democrat-led city with a big Latino population, has been especially targeted by the White House with massive ICE operations. The Department of Homeland Security says it's about safety, as they say illegal aliens have terrorized Americans in Sanctuary, Illinois. Official government accounts have published videos of an action movie resembling massive ICE raid on a whole building complex. President Donald Trump has also called for the arrest of the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois, both Democrats. The city and its residents are fighting back with protests on the street and are organizing, like Kristen, from the local chapter of a national NGO.
We want to build community because it's easier to be an activist when you've got other people around you. Somebody said something to the effect of action is the antidote to hopelessness, and at this point, there's not really space to sit at home and wait for my elected officials to do their jobs.
That is also what Cristóbal and the People's Patrol are trying to do. Not waiting for others to act, but taking action themselves.
We did a space over here. So if ICE were to come, this is our safe room. Yeah, a private property keep out, no entry without signed warrant.
Cristóbal wants to encourage neighbors and companies to think about similar ways to keep their friends and neighbors safe from ICE, vowing to keep resisting what he sees as an unjust campaign against his community.
And if everybody does that.
All right, I want to go now to our very own Benjamin Alvarez-Gruber, who filed that report. He joins me now live from Chicago. Benjamin, it's good to see you. As we saw in your report, we have local activists attempting to hinder federal agents in their duties. I mean, how dangerous is this for them? And I want to make it clear to our viewers, are these local activists, are they trying to help people who are in the U.S. legally, or are they also helping people who are in the country illegally?
For them, what they want to do is actually protect the community. So they go and patrol, gather information, and then find out what are they trying to do. They're pressing for these agents to actually have a warrant. And as we just saw there at the last part of that piece, also encouraging other companies to have so-called safe rooms. Coming back to your question, Brent, it is dangerous because there is a direct confrontation between these masked agents and those protesters there who quickly gather where these detentions are taking place. It's not always like this. There is a direct confrontation. Behind me, you can see there is police in riot gear. Until a couple of minutes ago, there were protesters here. But there are separated, as there have been several protests here in Broadview, close to Chicago. It's a facility of ICE.
Yeah, we can see the ICE officials behind you. So, I mean, right behind you is where you could possibly have a flashpoint between civilians, citizens, and ICE agents, correct?
Exactly, and that's also what we've seen in the last couple of days with state troopers, with police. Those who are standing behind me, there are police officers. They just moved to another location. There's another exit where also we've seen over the last couple of days cars going in and out, of course, being booed by the activists. We've seen some buses coming in here. This is a detention center also where the National Guard is stationed. Those who were sent from Texas and have been now temporarily blocked by a federal judge of being deployed to the city.
I understand a U.S. judge has temporarily blocked the deployment of National Guard troops in Chicago. Do you expect this to have any impact on the patrols of the activists, who are in the neighborhood there where you are?
That's a good question, because that's also what we've seen in the Capitol in Washington, D.C., where the National Guard was deployed. They cannot help with law enforcement. We saw them in Los Angeles helping ICE, helping the Department of Homeland Security carrying out those arrests. The officers, the National Guard troops that were sent from Texas already here in the facility. We saw some of them wandering around inside, but this is a temporary block. They have been blocked temporarily by this federal judge. There is another court date already for October 22nd. And she sees no risk of real insurrection in the state of Illinois. So a stark contrast of how the White House is trying to portray this, and President Trump calling this a war-ravaged city, referring to Chicago.
I want to ask you, too, before we run out of time, have you heard about citizens, activists patrolling the streets in other U.S. cities?
Yes, and that's also a signal that those who are here in Wheaton outside of Chicago want to send. We've seen something like this happening in Los Angeles for a couple of months now, and they want to show and train, and that's important for them. They want to train the community, train other activists to replicate what they are doing here quite successfully, they say, to also have that in different cities as we see increased ICE operations, increased ICE arrests across the United States.
All right, Benjamin Alvarez Gruber on the story for us in Chicago, in the state of Illinois. Benjamin, thank you.